Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show where we take your sources and really dig into them to unearth those important nuggets of knowledge.
Exactly. Our mission is pretty simple. Give you a shortcut to being genuinely well-informed.
Right, with those moments where things just click, those aha moments that make learning, well, exciting.
And today we're diving into something that might just reshape how you think about a dog breed you probably see quite often.
Absolutely. Have you ever stopped to think that the dog curled up on the couch, its history might actually stretch back centuries, like deeply tied into ancient battles, royal courts, even the shaping of continents?
It's a story that's way more complex and honestly more thrilling than most people realize. It's amazing how these historical threads are woven together.
Yeah, and sometimes hidden or maybe even deliberately obscured, right?
For sure. Many breeds we love today have these foundational ancestors whose stories are, well, barely known. But understanding them is critical to understanding the modern dog, its drives, its looks, even its temperament.
And that's exactly what we're digging into today. We're embarking on this really fascinating deep dive into the complex, and let's be honest, often deeply misunderstood history of the American Pit Bull Terrier, the APBT.
And you, our listener, brought us some fantastic material for this, specifically focusing on the really insightful theories and, frankly, decades of research by Mariano Peinado.
Okay, so before we jump right into the thick of it, we need to set the stage a bit here.
Yeah, definitely. This whole deep dive, all the information we're exploring, it's based entirely on Mariano Peinado's extensive research and, as he himself puts it, his humble opinion.
Humble, maybe, but based on a lot of work.
Oh, absolutely. He started this back in 1985. Decades of meticulous investigation, piecing things together. He's up front that, the absolute truth was lost in the mists of time. History isn't always perfectly preserved.
Right, records get lost, stories change.
Exactly. But his deductions offer this incredibly compelling, carefully constructed perspective on the APBT's origins. It's kind of like how historians work with other species or breeds where you don't have that single smoke and gun proof anymore.
Yeah.
It's about piecing together the evidence.
And it's that dedication that makes his perspectives so valuable, I think.
Totally.
So our goal today is to unpack this information in a way that's extensive, dynamic, and hopefully pretty entertaining, especially for you history lovers out there and anyone passionate about the APBT.
We're going to guide you through these two sort of parallel paths that eventually converge to form this incredible breed.
Yeah, exploring surprising facts, ancient influences, and meeting some of the key people who really shaped its destiny.
So why should you care about this? Well, whether you're a dog enthusiast, a history buff, or just curious about how breeds actually develop, often driven by utility, by need, not just by looks.
Right, form follows function, basically.
Right. Precisely. Understanding the APBT's true origins offers this profound new appreciation for canine history and that enduring, sometimes really surprising bond between humans and dogs.
It's a story of purpose, adaptation, and a spirit that's been, well, largely overlooked or misunderstood.
Okay, let's dive in. Let's unpack Mariano Peinado's core hypothesis because, honestly, it flips the script on what most people think about the APBT right away.
Yeah, hit us with it.
According to his theory, which actually carries significant weight internationally in canine historical circles, the foundational pattern, the blueprint for the American Pit Bull Terrier wasn't some early British bulldog variation like you always hear.
Okay, so what was it?
He argues it was an already extinct Spanish breed, the Alano español, sometimes known by its more ancient name, the Alano.
A Spanish breed. Wow, okay. That immediately challenges the standard narrative.
Massively. It pushes the APBT's roots much further back in time and, crucially, across continents. Spain, then the Americas, then eventually mixing with lines developed in Britain. It's a much more complex, cross-cultural story than the simple British Isles origin.
So how do we picture this ancestral breed, the Alano?
Well, imagine stepping back to Madrid in 1853. There's this painting by Manuel Castellano showing an Alano español right before a bullfight.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
You can almost feel the tension. The dog is powerful, compact, intense focus in its eyes. Short, strong muzzle, muscular body, clearly built for gripping, for holding on.
Not a lap dog, then?
Definitely not. It's pure working animal, raw purpose, ready for action. That painting really helps visualize this ancestor.
It brings it to life. And this Alano, his own origins are a bit mysterious too, right?
They are. That's another fascinating layer. The Alano's precise genesis is debated. Some theories point to an Iberian origin, like native to the peninsula, ancient roots.
And others,
Others suggest they were introduced during the barbarian invasions around the 4th century, maybe brought by tribes from Central Asia or Eastern Europe.
But regardless of where they first came from, their presence in Spain is well documented.
Oh, absolutely undeniable. We have solid historical documentation. Like back in 1350, King Alfonso IX's Libro de la Montería, the Book of the Hunt, mentions them clearly.
What were they used for then?
Hunting a dangerous game, like wild boar and bears. Tasks requiring immense courage, strength, and that tenacious grip.
Makes sense.
Then in the 15th century, there's the Tratado de la Montería, a detailed hunting treatise. It doesn't just mention alanos, it gives this incredibly precise physical description.
Like what?
Short snout, powerful broad head, kind of long body, distinct high rump, a good solid bone structure. Everything designed for power and durability. People knew exactly what an Alano was back then.
And their character. You mentioned their grip function.
Right, this is key. The old texts describe their disposition in this really profound way. They say the Alano takes hold not by hunger or prize, but by direct nature given by God.
Wow, that's poetic. Almost spiritual.
It is, isn't it? It suggests this innate, unyielding drive for the work itself, for the grip, not just motivated by food or reward, like it was their core purpose, built right in.
And this wasn't just some obscure working dog. They were visible in society.
Absolutely. If you look at the bigger picture, their presence is everywhere in art and literature from that time. Masters like Velázquez included them in his famous boar hunt painting, La Cacería del Hoyo.
I think I've seen that one.
Probably. Goya depicted them in his bull capture scenes, showing their power. There's even a French romantic engraving by Blanchard featuring one.
So their fame spread beyond Spain.
It seems so. And they pop up in literature, too. Cervantes mentions them, Luke de Vega. It shows they weren't just tools, they were part of the cultural fabric. Symbols of strength, loyalty, utility. Their importance was widely recognized.
Okay, so a powerful, culturally significant Spanish dog. But you said they influenced other breeds.
Hugely. Other European nations saw these dogs, admired their appearance, their function, their spirit, and they started importing them. This is where the lineage gets really widespread.
So this single ancestor, the Alano, had a massive impact.
Massive. They became the foundation, the genetic bedrock, for a surprising number of breeds. In England, they contributed heavily to the early bulldog, the working type, used for baiting.
Yeah.
In Germany, they influenced the Bullenbeißer, which later fed into breeds like the Boxer. In France, they were crucial for the Dogo de Burdeos.
Wow. And from those came even more modern breeds.
Exactly. Think Mastiffs, Bull Mastiffs, Boxers, Great Danes, Neapolitan Mastiffs, Cane Corso. It's like all these distinct national breeds trace back in a very real way to this common genetic trunk, the Spanish Alano.
That's incredible. One ancestor shaping so many different breeds across Europe.
It really highlights their genetic potency and how valued their specific working traits were. They fundamentally reshaped the canine landscape.
And this influence went beyond Europe, too.
Oh, yeah. In Portugal, they called them case de fila catch dog, or grip dog. Again, emphasizing that function.
Makes sense.
Then, as colonization ramped up, their descendants went to the Americas. And there, they got all sorts of regional names. Perros de presa, or perros de toro in Mexico, grip dogs, bulldogs.
Okay.
Perro de bravo, brave dog in Colombia. You see names like Dogo de Cuba, Perro de Pelea Cordobés in Argentina, which leads to the Dogo Argentino, and the Fila Brasileiro in Brazil.
So they spread everywhere, adapting and taking on local identity.
Exactly. It shows their incredible adaptability and utility in vastly different places and for different demanding jobs.
Okay, let's pivot to that first parallel path leading to the APBT. This is the American journey, starting way back.
Right, around 500 years ago, Spanish colonization of the Americas. The conquistadors arrive, and they don't just bring weapons and horses.
They brought the Alanos.
Precisely. Not as pets, but as vital assistants, canine soldiers almost, in their campaigns.
Against who?
Primarily against the indigenous peoples of South and Central America. These dogs were war dogs, tools for combat, scouting, exploration, and pure intimidation.
Could you give an example?
Yeah, there's a chillingly specific one. March 24th, 1495, La Española, modern Santo Domingo. Bartolomé Colón, Christopher Columbus's brother, leads an assault.
Okay.
He deploys 200 men, 20 horses, and crucially, 20 Alanos against the Carib Indians. These dogs weren't just backup. Their ferocity had a huge psychological and physical impact.
So that was their entry into America for conquest.
That was a key moment, and their genetics, their robustness, directly fueled the evolution of dogs in this new, harsh environment. They were a force multiplier, no question.
So once they were established in the Americas, what happened? Did they keep them pure?
Not exactly. They proved their worth, their strength, their gameness. So the colonists started strategically crossbreeding them with the local dog populations, dogs that were often undefined, just sort of existing there,
Why crossbreed?
to create a new variety, even more powerful, more beneficial, perfectly adapted to the specific challenges of the New World. Dogs forged by necessity for the colonists' needs.
Were there famous individual dogs from this era? Like legends?
Oh, absolutely. The chronicles are full of them. There was Becerrillo and Alano with Diego de Salazar. They said 10 soldiers with Becerrillo were scarier than 100 without him.
No way. Did he get paid?
He actually did. Received a soldier's pay and a share of the spoils. He was known for bravery, but also, interestingly, for not being needlessly cruel once an enemy was subdued.
A sense of fairness, almost.
Kind of. He died tragically, though, killed by indigenous arrows, like a veteran soldier.
Wow. Any others?
Definitely Leonchillo, Núñez de Balboa's dog. Famous guy, Balboa.
Right, Pacific Ocean guy.
Exactly. And Leonchillo was the first European dog to see the Pacific. The chroniclers wrote that Leonchillo earned more money than a regular soldier, a fusilier.
Why was he so valuable?
He detected ambushes in the jungle, found safe paths through swamps, saved countless lives, supposedly could even face down a jaguar. Fierce but discerning, knew when to fight, when to hold back.
How did he die?
Sadly, the same way. Indigenous arrows. A common fate for these frontline dogs.
Were there others?
Yeah, another named Amadis fighting alongside colonists against the Chimales around 1570. Same ending arrows. These dogs, along with firearms, caused incredible awe and terror among the tribes.
Psychological warfare, too.
Definitely. And they were vital for finding paths through uncharted territory. Their senses, their loyalty, invaluable.
It's fascinating how quickly they must have adapted.
Incredibly fast. Bernal Diaz del Castillo, in his True History of the Conquest of New Spain, he wrote about this.
What did he say?
He mentioned the first Spanish group going to Champoton had to abandon their Alanos because things got too rough.
Okay, so they left them.
Yeah, but here's the kicker. The second expedition comes back to the same area later and finds their descendants already thriving.
Oh, wow. Already adapted.
Diaz del Castillo noted they were a bit smaller, but fiercer, more effective. They'd mixed with local dogs. It was natural selection in action, super fast, creating this new lineage perfectly suited for the Americas.
So this mixing continued as the Spanish pushed north.
Exactly. And up north, they met even tougher resistance. Tribes like the Sioux, Cheyenne, Comanche, Cherokee, the Apache, or Redskins, as they were sometimes called, and especially the highly organized Iroquois Confederacy in the Northeast.
Better organized, you mean?
Yeah, the Iroquois, the Haudenosaunee, were incredibly coordinated. They acted almost like a single unified military force, very strategic, required an even tougher dog.
And we often forget, Spain controlled huge parts of what's now the U.S. first.
Totally. Florida, Louisiana, California, Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado. All Spanish first, then Mexican, then U.S. That Spanish influence, it's still there in the culture, the names, and yes, the dog genetics that shaped the APBT.
It's interesting how deep those roots go.
And here's a curious connection. The most significant evolution of the modern APBT happened largely thanks to dogmen from 3 of those states: Arizona, Oklahoma, and Texas.
Seriously?
Yeah. Think about the biggest names, the legends in APBT breeding. Maurice Carver from San Antonio, Texas. Earl Tudor from Oklahoma. Reverend Howard Heinzel from Phoenix, Arizona. It's not really a coincidence, is it? Their work built on that deep history.
That's a fascinating link. Can you give an example of how these Spanish dogs mixed with Native American cultures?
Sure. The Ute tribe is a great example. Utah is named after them.
Right.
So in the 17th century, they started trading heavily with the Spanish, got horses, became amazing riders, formidable warriors, and they also got Alanos.
Trading.
Yeah, sometimes trading captured people, women, and children, sadly, for Spanish goods, including these highly valued dogs.
That's grim, but historically significant.
It is, and here's that twist again. The ADBA, the American Dog Breeders Association, recognized as the mother canine of the APBT internationally. Where is it based today?
Let me guess, Utah.
Bingo. Salt Lake City, Utah. A striking connection back to those early interactions.
Okay, so Spanish dogs are mixing in the Americas. What about the British influence?
Well, British colonists saw how effective these Spanish dogs were in combat, for work, so they started bringing their own native British working dogs over.
What were they like?
Often mostly white, no specific breed standard yet. just tough working dogs. They used them against Native Americans, but also against the Spanish and French rivals.
The more dogs entering the mix.
Exactly. There are even accounts of dogs like these fighting in the American Civil War much later, showing their continued role.
So you've got Spanish Alanos, Alano native dog mixes, and these British working dogs all swirling together in North America.
Right. A real genetic melting pot. And this combination produced something incredible, this extraordinary and incredible new variety of dogs.
Driven by what? Just random mixing?
Not just random. Driven powerfully by hybrid vigor or heterosis, that boost in strength and fitness you get from crossing distinct genetic lines. The Alanos provided this massive positive impulse, injecting those amazing working traits.
And this is the beginning of the APBT.
This is the foundation taking shape. From that rich mix, the breed we now call the American Pit Bull Terrier started emerging. Its genetics weren't fully locked in, yet it still needed that other path, the British one, to fuse with it.
But it was already something special.
Oh, yeah. Even then, observers noted this new breed was developing qualities that would eventually surpass even the original powerful Alanos. That was the American deep dive utility, adaptation, incredible genetic synergy.
Okay, fascinating. Now let's switch continents and talk about that second parallel path, the one happening in Great Britain.
Right. This path also starts quite a while back, over 400 years ago. British dogmen, breeders, working folks, they looked across at Spain and deeply admired the Alanos.
What do they admire specifically?
Their vitality, their sheer bravery, that legendary gameness, their strength in contests and hunts and practical work. They saw a superior working animal.
So what did they do? Just admire from afar?
No, they were practical guys. They started importing Alanos, a lot of them.
Why? To replace their own dogs?
Not replace, but improve. They used these imported Alanos as sires, deliberately introducing those powerful Spanish genes into their own native British working dogs.
The ones you said were often white and didn't have a set breed.
Exactly. The goal was what they called opening blood, bringing in fresh, strong genetics to boost the quality, break any inbreeding issues, and enhance the working abilities of their own dogs.
And did it work?
Hugely successful, again, largely thanks to that powerful hybrid vigor from the Alanos. It dramatically improved the British catch dogs.
Okay, but if the Alano was so crucial for improving British dogs, why don't we hear about it more? Why isn't that common knowledge? It feels like a missing piece.
It is a missing piece, and this is a really important point Peinado makes. The credit, the merit due to the Spanish Alano for fundamentally improving British dogs was, as he puts it, largely silenced and buried by the British dogmen themselves.
Silenced? Why would they do that?
Well, a couple of reasons. First, simple competitive secrecy. You don't exactly advertise that you needed foreign stock to improve your native dogs, especially if you're competing.
Okay, makes sense. Bragging rights and all that.
Right. But maybe even more importantly, there were deep political tensions, rivalries between the UK and Spain back then, giving credit to Spain, not politically popular.
So politics basically erased canine history.
It seems to have led to significant historical ignorance on this specific point, yeah, which is a real shame because it hides a crucial part of the APBT's actual heritage.
So these mixes happening in Britain, they were also part of the APBT origin story.
Absolutely. A parallel development.
Yeah.
And this new breed emerging in Britain, it had various names over time, initially often called the Old English Bulldog.
But you said not the modern bulldog.
Crucially not. The modern English Bulldog is a totally different animal, bred for looks. This was the original, tough, working bulldog type, heavily influenced by the Alano.
Gotcha. What other names did they use?
Later on, names like Bull and Terrier, Pit Dog, and eventually Pit Bull Terrier started being used for this British line.
Are there pictures of these early British APBT types?
Oh, yeah. If you look at old drawings, like one by Howitt from 1798, or that famous 1817 engraving by Abraham Cooper of the fighting dog's Crib and Rosa, you can see them clearly. Powerful, athletic, that distinct head shape, clearly dogs bred for work and tenacity.
So bringing these two stories together, America and Britain, what was the driving force behind creating this dog in both places?
It boils down to this ancient, persistent desire among dogmen to find the ultimate all-terrain working dog.
All-terrain, meaning?
Meaning incredibly versatile. A dog that could adapt to any kind of work no matter how tough. Jobs that your average dog just couldn't handle.
Like the bull baiting or working with butchers.
Exactly. Think about the butcher connection you needed. A fearless, incredibly determined dog to catch and hold a massive, unruly bull for slaughter. That's a dangerous job.
No kidding.
And this wasn't new. There are records of organized bull baiting in England way back in 1209. For centuries, these kinds of baiting sports and tough working roles were common, even necessary. These dogs weren't bred for cuddles initially. They were purpose-bred tools for demanding, dangerous tasks.
Okay, so the breed is developing in parallel. When did it get its official name?
The name American Pit Bull Terrier was officially given in 1898 by an American, Mr. C.Z. Bennett.
And he did more than just name it, right?
He did. That same year, 1898, Bennett founded the United Kennel Club, the UKC. And the UKC immediately started registering APBTs with official pedigrees.
Why was that important?
It set a high standard for breeding, focusing on performance, on function, zootechnical rigor, they call it. It was the start of formally preserving the pure breed based on its working abilities.
Now, Mariano Peinado has some interesting thoughts on the name itself, doesn't he? Breaking it down.
He does, and it's really insightful. He argues the American part is totally deserved. Why? Because America was one of the two main places it originated, sure. But more importantly, America is where the breed was really defined and standardized later on when those two paths fused.
Then America preserved it.
Exactly. Peinado feels America fostered and preserved the breed with real commitment, especially compared to what happened later in England with laws like the Dangerous Dogs Act in 1991, which kind of disowned the breed in one of its birthplaces.
Okay, what about pit bull?
That refers directly to the pit, the arena, specifically where dogs baited or harassed bulls, like for the butchers controlling livestock.
Right.
This task was central to their selection. It tested their grip, determination, fearlessness.
And terrier, this is the one people get wrong.
Totally wrong, usually.
Yeah.
Peinado insists it was not added because they mixed in smaller terrier breeds. That's a common myth.
But why terrier?
Because they did earthwork. Terrier comes from terra, Latin for earth. They hunted vermin in burrows, dug out badgers, foxes, and famously they worked in mines, pulling heavy coal carts on rails out of mines, especially in the Staffordshire region of England. Tough, gritty, earth-related work. So the name itself, American Pit Bull Terrier, tells the story of its origins, its key functions, and its working nature.
That makes so much more sense. So the British breeders eventually adopted the name too.
Yeah, they started using Pit Bull Terrier, often without the American. It was kind of a tacit acknowledgement of the shared roots, that dominant Alano influence in both lines. Fundamentally, they were the same type of dog, just with slightly different regional names for a while. So
when did these two paths finally truly merge?
The Great Fusion really began in the 1800s. This is when you see significant immigration from the UK, especially Ireland, to North America, and these immigrants brought their dogs with them.
They're Pit Bull Terriers.
Exactly. And this influx, this mixing of the British lines with the established American lines, is when the phenotype, the look, and the genotype, the genetics of the American Pit Bull Terrier as we know it today, really solidified. It created a unified breed from these two powerful parallel streams.
Okay, so the breed is fused. What was the absolute top priority for the breeders who were shaping it?
One thing above all else, gameness, or casta in Spanish.
Gameness. Define that again.
It's more than just courage. It's that unyielding spirit, the determination to see a task through, no matter the difficulty or risk. It was considered the primordial quality, the unique thing that set these dogs apart. Breeders worked relentlessly to fix it in the genes.
You can almost feel it in old pictures.
Definitely. Think about that 100-year-old porcelain piece showing 3 APBTs hunting a wild boar. The focus, the power, the sheer tenacity, that's gameness visualized. It wasn't just about fighting, it was about an unwavering working spirit.
Now, we have to address the fighting aspect. It originated as an all-around worker, but dog fighting became part of its history.
It did, unfortunately, and we need to be clear. It's illegal and rightly condemned today. But historically, after bull and bear baiting were banned in Britain in 1835...
the focus shifted.
Yeah, dog-on-dog fights became more popular, sadly, because they were easier to hide.
And this influenced breeding, like the size.
It did. Some breeders in Britain, where they were often still called Old English Bulldogs, then started selecting for a slightly smaller dog.
How do they do that? Do they mix in smaller breeds?
No. That's crucial. Peinado stresses they didn't cross with different smaller breeds. That would have diluted the gameness, lost those hard-won qualities developed over 200 years.
So how did they make them smaller?
By consistently breeding the best small pure APBTs to other small pure APBTs. Selective breeding within the pure line.
Why smaller?
It increased agility and speed, which was seen as an advantage in the pit. It enhanced endurance while preserving that essential gameness.
Any other benefits to the smaller size?
Just practicality, really. Smaller dogs were easier to manage, house, transport, especially for clandestine activities.
But they did other jobs too, right? Not just fighting.
Oh, absolutely. Their functionality led them elsewhere. They were amazing ratters, fantastic at clearing out rat plagues, vital for public health sometimes.
And the mining.
Yeah, back to the mines, especially in Staffordshire. Dragging those heavy coal carts on rails in dark, dangerous tunnels, their strength, tenacity, desire to please, compact power, perfect for that incredibly tough work.
It paints a picture of incredible versatility. Now, connecting the dots. The migration of breeders was key.
Absolutely pivotal, especially British breeders moving to North America. They cemented the breed's identity there.
Who are some key names?
Charles Lloyd is a huge one. Started importing top English dogs around 1840. Dogs like Lloyd's Pilot, Lloyd's Paddy, Burke's Rafferty. These dogs set the standard for American breeders.
Others.
Confefili, Frank G. Henry, Richmond, Delahunt Farmer, the legendary Earl Tudor, Joe Corvino. These guys brought their lines and expertise across the Atlantic.
Got any pictures in mind?
Oh yeah, the historical photos are amazing. Charles Lloyd with his Lloyd's Paddy, Earl Tudor with the iconic Tudor's Blackjack, Joe Corvino with Corvino's Gimp. You can feel the history in those images.
What about Irish breeders?
Just as crucial, figures like W.S. Simmons, William J. Leitner, and Jim Corcoran, the boxer-turned-policeman in Boston.
The heavyweight contender.
That's the one. Stayed in the U.S., became a big dog man. Also McCoy, Bob Hemphill, Bob Wallace, Johnny Gashouse McDonald, John Noonan. Tons of influential Irish breeders.
Any images of them?
Yep. William J. Leitner, Bob Wallace, Bob Hemphill, Jim Corcoran with his dog, Corcoran's Biddy. Real pioneers.
Welsh and Scottish, too.
John P.H. Colby, a huge name from Wales, initially liked Irish lines but later used English ones like Lloyd Pilot's descendants. Shows the mixing. Scottish dogs. Their lines merged pretty quickly with English and Irish ones, so a distinct Scottish line didn't really last separately.
And these dogs from Britain. They're ancestors of today's Staffy Bull.
Exactly. The Staffordshire Bull Terrier traces directly back to these APBTs developed in Britain. Shows that deep shared lineage.
It's amazing to think about all these breeders converging. Is there like a picture of them all together?
There's an incredible one. October 29th, 1966. A photo captures a gathering of the absolute legends, the best old-time breeders.
Who's in it?
Get this. Leo Kinnard, Maurice Carver, Bert Klaus, kind of behind Earl Tudor, Bob Hemphill, Bob Wallace, George Sadler, Floyd Boudreau, Rob Lewis, Don Maloney, Scotty Nelson. It's like the Mount Rushmore of APBT breeders.
Wow. That photo must radiate dedication.
It really does. Pure passion for the breed and its working qualities.
Okay, so the breed is established. Yeah. Breeders are migrating and collaborating. What about formal organization?
Right. After that big fusion, things started getting more official. The American Dog Breeders Association, the ADBA, was founded in 1909.
And they're important.
Hugely important. They've been steadfast in preserving the original APBT. So much so that FIAPBT, the International Federation for Alano, Español, and APBT, recognized the ADBA in 2000 as the Canina Madre, the mother canine of the breed internationally.
Why?
For their unwavering commitment to the authentic, genuine, pure, original APBT. They didn't compromise on working ability or historical integrity. They're seen as the custodians of the real deal.
Then things started to diverge a bit with other registries.
Exactly. In 1935, the Kennel Club, KC, in Great Britain, recognized a specific group of those smaller APBTs.
And they called them?
The Staffordshire Bull Terrier, named to honor those dogs working the coal mines in Staffordshire County.
Was there a specific dog they based the standard on?
Yep, a 15-kilogram APBT named Jim the Dandy, owned by the club president Jack Bannard. He embodied what they were looking for in that line.
And then the U.S. followed suit.
A year later, June 9, 1936, the American Kennel Club, the AKC, recognized a group of the slightly larger American Pit Bull Terriers.
What do they call them?
The Staffordshire Terrier. Similar name to the British one, partly because the AKC didn't recognize the British variety yet.
And their standard was based on?
A truly magnificent 16-kilogram APBT named Colby's Primo, born in 1935, bred by the legend John P.H. Colby himself. Primo was registered with both ADBA and UKC.
So he was seen as the ideal.
Totally. Pictures of Primo show why he was the perfect pattern for that standard. Power, grace, athleticism.
But at this specific point, 1935, 1936, these staffies, both types, were they still basically APBTs?
Fundamentally, yes. Peinado makes this point strongly. At that moment, despite the new names and standards, they were still considered purebred APBTs. Enough time hadn't passed for significant divergence caused by breeding purely for looks, for aesthetics.
So the core qualities were still there.
Exactly. The early Staffy Bull and the early Amstaff, as the Staffordshire Terrier later became known, were very much part of the broader APBT family, sharing those essential working traits and genetics. The major split came later.
Okay, let's talk temperament, because this is where the modern perception seems totally disconnected from the history you're describing.
It really is, and Peinado stresses this constantly. From the very beginning, the absolute most important policy for APBT breeders was producing balanced dogs with an exceptional disposition towards people.
Not just important, but like rule number one.
Rule number one, zero tolerance. Any dog showing even the slightest unprovoked aggression toward a human was radically, immediately culled from breeding lines. Period.
That's the complete opposite of the media image.
Yeah.
How did that happen? How did the perception get so warped?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Because the historical breeding practices, for centuries, were laser-focused on creating reliable, people-safe dogs alongside the working traits.
So what were the key traits they were selecting for, besides people-friendliness?
A whole suite of things that made them ultimate workers. Deep intelligence. That quality of class or distinction. Casta gameness, paramount. Valor. Courage. Tenacity. Equilibrium. Balance. A positive, willing attitude. Skill. Ability. Incredible stamina and resistance. That powerful grip.
And the physical form to match.
Right. A functional, proportionate body combining agility and power with good, strong bone structure, all deliberately selected over generations.
So putting it all together, the APBT, historically,
is the quintessential working dog par excellence. Driven by this incredibly strong desire to please its owner, to do whatever is asked. That gameness applied to service, not just conflict.
And historical photos back this up.
Consistently, look at images labeled the original APBT or collections showing their real nature throughout history. You see working partnership, loyalty, and that positive disposition towards people again and again. It paints a vastly different picture from the headlines.
It really does. A completely different narrative based on centuries of purposeful breeding.
A testament to breeding for utility and a stable temperament.
Wow. We've covered an incredible amount of ground today. Journeying through centuries, really, from the ancient Spanish Alano,
across continents, oceans,
witnessing the evolution of the American Pit Bull Terrier through those two parallel converging paths.
Seeing how a breed defined by work, resilience, and crucially, as Peinado's research highlights that exceptional disposition towards humans, actually came into being.
This deep dive, based on Peinado's work, it really challenges us, doesn't it, to look past the stereotypes, the surface noise.
And appreciate the deep history, the purpose-driven development of a breed that's just so often misunderstood.
It definitely makes you wonder, how many other breeds have these rich, hidden histories waiting? What can they teach us about our own past, our relationship with animals?
It's a great question. History is often layered like that.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the truly fascinating history of the American Pit Bull Terrier. We really hope you enjoyed uncovering these stories and maybe gained a deeper appreciation for this incredible breed.
It's a history worth knowing.
And for those of you who are history buffs, passionate about the APBT, and want to keep exploring Mariano Peinado's work is extensive, we highly recommend you check out the APBT Info YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You will find hundreds, literally hundreds of hours of meticulously researched content on the APBT's history there. It's an absolute goldmine.
It really complements what we've touched on today and goes even deeper. A fantastic resource for anyone serious about understanding the breed's true origins.
Couldn't agree more.
Thanks for guiding us through it.
My pleasure. So until next time, keep digging, keep learning, and stay curious.